G'day guys, we've got our E46 6-litre LS Swap build happening here, which has been going on for a little while in the shop, but I thought we'd just take the chance to run through some of the rear end stuff we're doing. We've got Steve and Jack here, and this is just our cradle that we've reworked for the R200, which is showing here, and Steve's just going to run through and show a few of these parts off. Go for it, Steve. What have we got?
All right, so we've got an R200 out of the S15. So what we do is we modify these in different ways depending on the application, but we make our own bushings here in-house. And as you can see, here's one of our bushings which we've made to suit this diff. So we solid mount the diff to the cradle. And if you have a look, you can see the back mount section here, which bolts up to the rear of the diff. So we do all this in-house, all the welding, all the fabrication. And if you come up to the front of the diff, the front of the cradle, you can see here, this is all modified all through here. All these plates, all the bolts, captive nuts to mount the front of the R200 up here. And if I grab our original cradle, I'll lay it on top. You can see the differences. So here's the factory mount at the back, the rubber mount. You can see that on the left there. So you can see the huge difference there. And if you go up to the front of the cradle, you can see the factory mounts up the front. So we remove all the factory rubber mounting points and fabricate all of the new mounting points to suit the R200.
So we're going to show the floor where this bolts up and some repair work here. Just not new to us or a lot of our followers who watch this. Got a bit of cracking going on this one, don't we? And being 6-litre, I guess you can understand what's going to happen.
This car was originally a 2.2-litre automatic, so not a huge amount of horsepower or torque, but you can see the crack coming through here. It's quite mild compared with some cars. It's probably had a good life, but not a lot of horsepower either to even have a crack. The rest of the floor looks fairly okay, no cracking. You normally see quite a fair bit of cracking up through the front here on this side, and I'm guessing that's just the way the torque moves through the rear end.
So we'll plate this up while it's all out, and I guess this brings us to the next bit with our shocks, Steve, so grab them.
We're going to go from a conventional E46 rear end, which is a separate shock and spring, and we're going to some BC Racing monoshocks. So all of the load is now going to be off the original spring hat, and it's going to be pushing up on the top of the shock mount. So we'll explain what we're going to do there and how we're going to mitigate any cracking and strength issues. But we've got a 12 kilo shock here. So this will be 12 kilos is normally a track car sort of setup. Normally you have an 8 kilo on a street car, but we want it to be quite firm so that any events we go to, it'll stand up and not be sort of drifting all over the road. So what we're going to end up with is everything mounted up in here, spring and shock absorber. So the plan is we're going to clean and prep all this up in here. We're going to add extra strength all through this sort of curved area here. We're also going to add some structure in the boot to handle the forces going upward.
Because normally the top of the spring sits up in this sort of area, doesn't it? That's the spring hat.
Sits up in this area up here. You also see some E46s also do a fair bit of separation through this area here and round here. So typically when we do a rear end rebuild, we're also stitching in here. The factory just has spot welds and probably some factory body glue. But yeah, we're going to do a fair bit of stitch work all through here. We're going to add extra strength up through there, and we're going to brace inside the boot. And the bracing is going to come down through the rear cradle bolts here and here. So we're going to drill through the center of these holes into the boot, and that will also mate up to our structure, which is also going to mate up to the top of the shock absorber mount.
All right, cool. And we got our couple of the pretty bits here, the blue bits, which we like. The what do we call these things, Steve?
So these are the lower control arms, which control the camber on the rear end of the vehicle. So this is a factory one here. and they're quite suitable for factory, but once you start stiffening up and adding horsepower, you definitely want some more rigidness there. So we've got some Turner Motorsport, beautiful looking little bits of CNC machined arms, and these ones will fit in there. So they'll have full camber adjustment, but just solid, with some nice rose joints in the end.
So we can wind these in and out, which will bring the bottom of the wheel carrier out, and that's what creates the camber on the back wheels.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
And you can take these home and use them for your barbecue. Sort of barbecue tongs there, and add a bit of flavour to your steak.
Those tongs have done some mileage.
Yeah, leave that tyre and road grime on there, eh?
Yeah,
So
sounds good.
who needs barbecue sauce? All right, well, that's it, guys. Just a little short one there, and we'll try and bring you some more video on some products that we make and little enhancements. But this thing's running about 300 kilowatts at the wheels. It's got a nice little cam in it. It's been running before, but we haven't really driven it on the road yet. It was just a demo car to date. Needs some paint work and a few other things going on, but we'll try and release some more video on this one as it comes to life. Cheers, guys.